Welcome to People Profile. We are here this evening to talk to this author, Mr. Dwight Marshallek. Marshallek, that name is familiar. I think I went to school with a Marshallek. You wouldn't happen to know John Marshallek, would you?
That is my sister.
Oh my goodness.
Small world.
Yes, it is indeed. And we are here talking to him because he has written a book, and his book is entitled A Season of Big Mountains. And of course, those of us who live in South Florida, one of the things that we miss the most is our mountains of Jamaica. So we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Marshallek and find out a little bit about how he got started on this book and what the book is about. So tell me a little bit about the book.
Thank you, Bethany. I brought one for you. You can have your own copy.
Thank you so much.
300 pages.
All right.
A Season of Big Mountains is a metaphor for big mountains don't change. They stand the test of time. They bring ideas that people have hold for a long time. In this book, the first person narrative is done by Dan. He's a boy, and he comes of age questioning all the things he sees around him.
Oh wow! So this is a novel.
This is a novel,
Okay.
embedded with Jamaican folklore. At times we drift off into the local patois, but its intention is to be a literary piece,
Okay.
a young adult literature book.
So was it written for young adults, or?
It was written for young adults.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, it's been on sale on Amazon, and the people who find it most, my best buyers, are women.
Oh wow! So it's appealing to the older, well, not necessarily older, but not just the young adults. So it has impact across all ages then.
Well, I do touch on issues of children and women and men, but I'm a little sensitive to the issues of children because it's set in a teen and preteen era. And of course, teens are probably closest to their moms. So the issue of a little bit of domestic abuse, as is trending in Jamaica today, comes of age. I talk about things from the perspective of a boy, so it isn't. It's not preachy.
Okay.
It is innocent, and it's appealing to all.
So was it written set in the current times, or was it set in the times that we remember back when I remember back in the day when life seemed to be a little bit simpler?
Right.
But I remember
Right.
domestic violence even then was an issue.
Simple, but yet layered. This is a child speaking.
Okay.
There's contradiction. It's the cusp of the 21st century, and he is wondering, do I have to experience life as it is? Even though it may be set back in time, people are being educated, and you don't have to accept all the values around you. So this boy questions what he sees. So we find universal themes coming up here, not just period themes that would be strictly relevant to the 60s or 70s.
Okay. Did what author that you admire that really inspired you? One particular author that you find that you kind of relate to, or you model yourself after?
I don't model myself after anyone, thank God, but I do have two people that I like. I like Hemingway for his flow, and I like Steinbeck for his challenge of issues and the way he fearlessly writes about what he sees.
I once heard, I forget which author it was, that is the only author who wrote everything without ever rewriting it. And most of us don't feel that confident.
Right.
Did that take a lot of rewriting?
That's an excellent question, because I am part of a literary group and I've rewritten this dozens of times. The rule of thumb is you have to write 1 million words before you become a good author.
Oh wow.
So finally, about last year, I began to write things in one piece. So though I didn't believe that 1 million words thing, I think I'm at that point. I must have written 1 million words.
Have you always been a storyteller? Is this something that you grew up with?
Excellent, I like that, because as a writer, we're not narrating, we're telling a story. And I'm also a high school teacher, by the way, so I've been teaching for 23 years, and I'm trained in science. So I noticed, as I write this book, it changed me also.
Oh yeah.
I teach chemistry, for example, which is supposed to be an analytical, boring subject, but I'm such a storyteller now. So that has infused into my personality the idea of writing a book and telling a story. And believe me, telling a story in chemistry in a chemistry class works.
Oh wow.
It works to make a distant, obscure subject come to life.
Okay. Would you say that there was somebody in your childhood that particularly inspired you or encouraged you or saw your potential?
Excellent question. Well, the book begins with an inspector who comes to visit the latrines, the outward toilet in our neighborhood. And he was a well-spoken, sharp, clean man. And I was at the age of potty training. And I really liked how he moved. And I impressed him. I think I must have been 3.5, 4 years old.
Okay.
And the book tells a story where he says, he tells my mama, try with him, he will go far.
Well, if you can just hold on 1 minute, we're going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Welcome to People Profile, sharing the stories of ordinary people. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Please join your host Saturdays, 9 a.m. for live interviews on Cabin Village TV. Tune in.
People Profile seeks to build dreams using one story at a time.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Mr. Dwight Marshallek, the author of a book entitled A Season of Big Mountains. And now I'm going to ask you if you'd do us a favor. Could you read your favorite part in the book, just to give us a little taste of it?
Yes, I will. This section is something a lot of people can relate to. The setting is very high in the mountains. In fact, one of my motivation is to write this book on Mocha, where I grew up.
Wow,
I was tired of people saying Mocha idiot, so that wasn't true actually. So I wrote this book, and it's way at the end, chapter 44. Father's eyes turned baby blue, matching the color of his favorite dress shirt. He kept bouncing from foot to foot in a nervous, happy dance. Solomon, the only man with a newspaper, told him good news. Father abandoned the fields, hurried to the crossroad, and borrowed a newspaper to see it with his own eyes. He opened the paper and brought it over to where I lay ill in bed. Dan, you passed your exam, his voice cracked as he fought back tears. I had passed the Revere Common Entrance exam and won a full scholarship to any of Jamaica's elite high schools. It had been years since a boy in our community passed this scholarship. This was the best gift any child could give to his or her parents. Tell me what you want, he said. I'll give you anything. It shocked me to see this hard man turn soft and supple to humbly pay tribute to me, his normal stony exterior cracked to reveal tenderness. I wanted to tell him that I just wished to make my family proud. Secretly, I wished that my award would cause Father to walk through the crossroads indifferent to the contempt that idlers heaped on him. I don't want anything, Papa, I muttered, through the bandaged poultice that wrapped my face and kept my cheeks from swelling past my ears.
Okay. All right, so the common entrance. Again, that's taking us back a while when we used to have to run to see that newspaper and hope that our name was on that list and that we had gone to the school of our dreams. Yes, that's very good. The poultice, that was interesting as well.
Right, so we infuse a vocabulary that has long poultices, a concoction of medicines that people out in the countryside would put on. So while I am being authentic, as we discussed earlier, to the Jamaican tradition, my objective here is to keep the literary pace, keep the cadence of rural folks, translating some of those words into its parent English language, and bringing terms like poultice, which would be common among country folks as they don't have access to medicine, and still bring that ring to it.
So this is your first book.
It's my first book.
This is your first published book?
First published book, yes.
Okay, so what else is in the pipeline? But maybe before I ask that, I should say, how are you planning to market this? What are you planning to
Right. First, market. Well, I'm here because of the work of Janet Young, who is a publicist. She has a lot of experience working in the community in Broward, and Marjorie Forrest. They have collaborated to bring me and get me some exposure in Broward. This is on Amazon, by the way.
Okay.
So that's been exposed to that. Now, a little bit more about the prior question. I'm also a blogger, and for 6 years, my stories have been on Blogspot, and students or people have read them. People have contacted me, found me on Blogspot. So I've had some exposure to that. They're short stories that I basically give away. I have a play in the making. Anybody want to collaborate on that? I'm open. I have another book that I'm working on, and I found a whole package of poetry that I've stashed from I was young that I use as my raw material for writing.
By the way, the picture on this cover, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I searched 20-something years for this picture. I've ordered artists to draw it. I've taken pictures of it myself, but this is actually looking from a place called Maidstone, which is a historic freeholding village in Jamaica. Freeholding villages has historical connotations, which I might be able to explain. It looks towards South Manchester, and that's a trail of bauxite running through. And I don't call that red dirt because it's our most precious mineral resources. If we manage that right, it would probably be one of the richer nations in the Western Hemisphere.
And you said that your book is available on Amazon.com.
It's available on Amazon. Kindle will be up and running in 2 days.
Okay. So before we leave, what would you say to young writers out there? What advice would you give to them?
Great question. The first thing that kept me going here was persistence and a commitment to various people in my heart. They never asked me to write this, but I was committed to tell their story. So persistence, stay with it, have a clear objective, and you'll hear a lot of distraction. You'll probably be robbed and taken advantage of. But if your objective is to write you must.
Okay. And you did it while you were continuing to work?
I worked as a teacher. I coached my kids and people's neighborhood kids. I'm on the Homeowners Association, and I'm a Kiwanian, which requires volunteer work.
Very good, excellent. So we have a very well-rounded gentleman here. We used to talk about the Renaissance man. He admits to writing poetry. He's a scientist, a teacher, and he has shown us his book and made Mucka Mountains famous. Yes, as an honorary member of the Mucka Mountain clan, I thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.